Hello, good morning, everybody. I know it's morning. I mean, it's morning for me. When I upload this video, I don't know what time it's going to be or when you're going to see it. But I'm drinking some milk. I don't drink beer all the time, of course. I still have to go to work today. Oh. But I decided, because I was listening to a lot of this stuff from the late 90s, early 2000s, and I thought I'm going to make a video about this. And this is a video about true metal and power metal, power true metal that came out especially after HAMMERFALL released Glory to the Brave, and later also PRIMAL FEAR released a debut album, I think in 98, and in 97 of course HAMMERFALL Glory to the Brave. Those two albums made a lot of other people, bands, making albums too. They start forming new bands. A lot of new bands came out, like Mob Rules, for example. A lot of Italian bands too. But a lot of the Italian bands, like Rhapsody or Skylark, for example, also they had some symphonic elements in their songs. But these bands, they were all through metal, like power through metal. That's the term they gave it. For some people, it was not as true as back in the 80s. But these bands try to, give a new push to the traditional heavy metal, but with power metal elements from Europe. Okay, I think it was a good intro about it a little bit. Yeah, I'm just going to name 5 bands, because there were a lot more bands, of course, like playing this type of power through metal stuff, a lot more, like Majesty, Paragon, Gladiators, a lot of bands, UNREST, but they were a little before. And some of these bands were formed quite like early on, but the first albums came out like more in the later years. But I'm going to start with a band called Solemnity, and I'm going to show not everything I own by this band. I just want to show a little bit, the first and the second album by this band, and they were released in 2001 and 2003, and they were from Germany, from Bavaria. Bavaria, the province. They were from there. And yes, if you like Metallium, for example, you would also like, for sure, Solemnity. For sure you will like it. And they released 5 more albums. In total, they released 5 albums, and then later they split up. But they were formed in 1998. Another band that is right now, still active, they were Iron Fire. And they are from Denmark. And this was their debut album. And this is just a killer album. Check out The Final Crusade. The album is Thunderstorm. And check out also the cover song they did for Running Wild under Jolly Roger. And they were formed a little earlier than Solemnity. They were formed in 1995. I think I already said they were from Denmark. And they have a total of 9 full-length albums. And this is their debut album from the year 2000. It's really, really a killer record that everybody should check out. Okay, maybe like a more popular band out of all these bands, the popular, are Wizard from Germany. Here I got some of the early days by this band. And they're still going active today. And they released 12 albums already. I mean, that's amazing. 12 albums. Only the early days, they were more true metal in the early days. Later they became a little more power metal, and more, like, they had a cleaner sound too, better production. But the early days, they were like a more primitive approach, to the music and to the sound. The production was really like low budget, but it's very good band. Bound by Metal or Head of the Deceivers are great albums, and I really like them. Actually, the debut album came out already in 95. That's why they were releasing albums before HAMMERFALL. Paragon was also there before HAMMERFALL. Nocturnal Rites in the Time of Blood and Fire from 95, also before HAMMERFALL. That's why, of course, HAMMERFALL was the band that a lot of people discovered heavy metal thanks to HAMMERFALL. But there were, of course, a lot of heavy metal bands before too during the 90s, you know. But we all know that. But HAMMERFALL were in the magazines, and they praised them like the salvation, you know, the heavy metal salvation. You know, this band is gonna save heavy metal, and it's brought a lot of new fans into heavy metal. You know, that's a good thing. And this is one of those bands that started thanks to HAMMERFALL, really. And we are talking about Steel Attack from Sweden. They were formed in '97, and yes, they are on hold right now. They have no activity. But this was their debut album, Where Mankind Falls, from 1999. Okay, for HAMMERFALL fans, check this out. And then the last one I want to show out of the you know, these 5 bands, it's actually a Spanish band from Basque country, you know, from El País Vasco, and I'm talking about VALHALLA. You see, and they were formed also in '97, and they have in the total 4 full-length albums, plus this first release. This was the first release they ever did. This is Guardians of Metal. If you like Storm Warrior, you know, Paragon, then you will like this band too, for sure. And this was the first full-length album. Great band. And this is everything I want to show in this video. Of course, these bands were quite popular in Europe, especially, and in Japan, like from, you know, from their debut album till maybe till 94, 2005, 2006, and then the new wave of thrash metal came out. Also thanks to MySpace. For sure, a lot of people discovered all those, like Toxic Holocaust, Municipal Waste, you know, all thanks to MySpace, I think, you know, at least I did. And then, of course, later, in 2009, the new wave of traditional heavy metal exploded with, like, loads and loads of bands, like Enforcer, Skullfist, Cauldron, White Wizard, you know, in Spain, Hitten, you got Hitten later too, Steel Horse from Spain, you know, they are not there anymore. But, you know, but this is true power metal, you know, that came out like in the late 90s, early 2000s. And some of these bands, like I said so, are still going on. Like Iron Fire is still going on, and Wizard is still going on, and the other ones are, yeah, are not really going on at the moment. Okay, I hope you like this video. Check out these bands, check out all these movements. For sure, if you go to Wikipedia, you can check more bands and stuff from this movement, especially European movement. Because, of course, in America, back then, you had Premonition, Twisted Tower Dire. It sounded quite European, you know, Twisted Tower Dire. You know, they got the influences from these bands. But these albums are just great. And there's a lot more, you know, more bands I could show. But I don't want to make this video too long, okay? Have a great weekend again, and stay metal.